guys, welcome to my channel where we spotlight caregivers and we share their stories. Today I have Felicia Luxama. She is a teacher, a hobbyist photographer, and has been a caregiver to her grandmother full-time for about 6 years and now part-time. And this is her story.
Cool.
Good. Thank you for joining me and doing this chat interview with me.
Of course.
So I just want to introduce you. We kind of known each other for about 2 years now, right? Through Ideas Miami.
Yes.
Ideas Miami is an Instagram group that we were both admins in,
Yes.
geared to the photography community here in Miami. You're a photographer. It's
I
your art,
am.
your passion, right?
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that. Let's start with that.
Oh my gosh. Well, photography and art has always been like something that I've done since I was a kid. My mother is a ceramicist and a sculptor. My dad is an architect. So growing up, art was always around. And I
Hmm.
think the first time I've ever picked up a camera, I think I was about like 11 or 12. And growing up in New York City, that was just something that I always did. Walked the bridge, took pictures. And back then, it wasn't like the digital cameras that we have now. Everything
Oh,
was done in film.
film.
Everything was film. And my dad, he actually had a knack for photography. There
Okay.
was a studio that he had in the city that was like a dark room area. So he taught me a lot, like how to process film and things like that. And that for me was like the first like okay, I could see myself doing this.
Right, right.
Yeah.
That's nice. That's nice that you've kept it out this whole time.
I did, and then like I kind of stopped for a little while because when we moved down here, we kind of went through a lot. My mom got really sick, and she
Mhm.
wasn't able to live in New York anymore.
Okay.
So our initial plan was to move to Arizona, and that didn't work out. And so my dad goes, "Well, let's just move to Florida." And so we did. And then we stay with family, but sometimes staying with family doesn't always work out.
Hmm. Yeah,
It's true. And
it's true.
so, my parents weren't like prepared. So we did go through a time we were like homeless.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, so like from, I want to say I was like age 13 to maybe, oh my God, I'm really thinking back here, maybe like 15, 16, we didn't have a home. We were going through shelters. We had a van, and I didn't do anything artistic. My parents didn't do anything art related at that time.
Right.
So that point, I didn't really do anything much. But when I graduated from high school, I made sure that I had to like pick that back up.
Right.
And I
Right.
did. My senior year of high school, I was in the yearbook and I picked up photography again. And that resparked my passion for it.
You got back into it. What happened with your mom? Everything, was she
Everything is fine. She suffers from fibromyalgia.
okay?
So, in case people who don't know what that is, it's basically like you have severe nerve pain. So like even a simple touch, it's like you getting punched in the face. That's how she'll explain it to me.
Right.
Or living in the cold weather, it causes her
Hmm.
nerves to tense up, and
Right.
she would literally be like confined to a bed. And during that time, my mom was in her 30s, like 31, 32,
Young. Young.
and young, but
Right.
her body was of an 80-year-old. And the doctor told her, you can't live here anymore. You have to
Right.
move. And
Right.
that's when we moved down here.
And the difference.
Huge difference. Like she
Yeah.
still has pain, but not to the extent of how it was when I was a kid.
Wow, that's great to hear. I'm really
Yeah.
hear that. Wow. So that you picked up photography again and you got back into it and it's been a passion since again.
It's been a passion since. And then I will say though, when I picked it back up, I was working, going to school. At that time I was in college. So I didn't like it was more like a hobby more than anything, just to
Right.
get my mind busy. And then I think really it was when um I started teaching was when I really dove into it. Because, working with kids is not easy. And especially the children that I work with, this is hard. So it really was an escape for me just
Mm-hmm.
to fully do it. And at
Right.
that time, Instagram started.
Yeah.
So it was cool to have a platform where I could share my images with people and get that report back from the community, which was really cool.
Of course. No, that's great. And so you're a teacher, you wanna tell me a little bit like who you're teaching, like grade
Yeah.
and age?
Yes, I would teach kindergarten this year, but I
Okay.
teach from kindergarten through fifth grade, and I
Wow.
specialize in special needs kids or
Okay.
children with special needs. That's how we say. And they range from children who are mute, they suffer from mutism, so they don't talk, or
Mhm.
autism from high functioning to low functioning, which means like children who can't care for themselves, children who can't use the bathroom on their own, but
Right.
also teaching the fundamentals like their letters, their sounds. But
Right.
this year's been kindergarten. It's been tough. I've never taught kindergarten before.
Yeah. Well, kindergarten in general, is tough.
It's a lot.
That's a young, that age is just exploring and,
Exactly. And a lot of
for them,
questions.
girl.
Oh, yes, it's very different because the previous years I've always taught second grade. That's been my grade level. The highest grade I taught was fifth, but
Okay.
to be able to teach kindergarten, it was like, whoa, this is a whole new world. But I'm learning though. I'm actually getting to the point where like maybe this is something where I may continue to do on the side,
Okay.
with the little ones,
Yeah.
because they really don't, they're so new and they just don't know anything.
Yeah, yeah. It's
They're fresh.
like almost. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a fresh canvas.
Yes, it's a fresh canvas. It's so true. It's so true. Like they don't, very rarely they talk back to you, but it's just a whole different perspective when you work with children that are so young and they
Right.
have so many needs. So
Yeah.
it's been very fulfilling so far this year working with them.
That's great. That's great to hear. So tell me a little bit about your caregiving role. I know it was with your grandmother and you shared that role with your mom,
I did.
which now I hear I didn't know before that she was also going through her own thing. So
Yes.
tell me about, a little bit of the story, how it started and how long has it been?
Oh man, where do I even start? Because it's so funny because me and my grandmother, we were close when I was a kid, but we weren't. It's weird because she lived in Puerto Rico. She would come and visit. So as a kid growing up, me and my grandmother, I can say were extremely close. I would say when I became like in my 20s, we just lost touch.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was actually after her husband, my grandfather, when he passed away. You know how they say like soulmates or when they married, one dies and they die of heartbreak?
I've heard that. I've heard that.
Yeah. So when my grandfather died, my mother noticed that my grandmother was acting different. We
Mm-hmm.
didn't know what it was. We just felt like maybe she was just depressed because he passed. So the
Mm-hmm.
long story short, um, it was actually my dad's dad. So my other grandfather, he was dying. And right before he passed away, we learned that my grandmother had a stroke.
Okay.
Okay, so my mother dealing with her issues, she went to Puerto Rico and she, went to see what was going on. And sure enough, she had a severe stroke. It completely affected her left side.
Right.
And she's a lefty, so she couldn't
Okay.
do anything I mean, she was a vegetable for about 3 months.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, my mom had to literally live there for about 3 months until she was able to bring her back.
Wow.
And you learn a lot when family becomes sick. You learn about your other family as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that stirred up a lot of issues where like the family didn't want her to come here. But even the doctor said, at the end of the day, my job as a physician is to make sure that your grandmother is properly cared for, and her being here on the island isn't the best place for her.
Right.
So
Right.
basically, my mom was like, okay. So
All you needed to hear.
yeah. So my
Wow.
dad ended up flying over there, trying to pick up her last bit of stuff, and they moved here. And at that time, I was in between jobs because when she got sick, I just left a job where I was a director for an aftercare program.
Okay.
So I was just taking it easy. I was really actually just doing photography at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So my grandfather just passed away. So I was just like in a place where I was like, okay, I have this time here. Obviously, my mom needs help. Let me just do the right thing and help, since
Right.
I'm already here. And at that time, too, I just moved back home. I lost my apartment. That's
Okay.
another story. But I moved back. It was just weird how everything happened because it was like I moved back home,
Right.
talked to my parents,
Had moved in.
and like I was like, I'm here. Let me just
Right.
contribute, to the family. And that's
Yeah.
really how that started. And my grandmother at that time, she was 70. She was young. Well, she was actually six. She's 74 now, so she was 68 when she
Wow.
had her stroke.
Wow.
So this is my second year, not because I care for her still, but not full time.
Right. Okay.
So I'm more like a part-time caregiver for her right now.
Wow. Wow. It's been a couple years then there.
It's been a couple of years, yeah, and it's been hard. It's been hard. Like again, I didn't have a close relationship with her. So my grandmother, she's I don't say typical, but she's like that Spanish grandma, old school. She could do everything by herself.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I had to take her to appointments. I had to take her to physical therapy. I had to take her to speech therapy. I had to take her to all of her doctor's appointments. It was a lot. Even now looking back at it, I'm like, how did I
How'd you
even
do it?
do it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because people fail to realize, like, I have friends, but they will come and check on me, but they didn't fully grasp, like, one, the emotional
Mm-hmm.
aspect of it, because it's difficult. Then physically, because I had to pick her up, I had to clean her. Like, she was like a big baby. That's the
Right.
best way I could put it. Because at that time, when she first moved with us, she could not do anything by herself. Nothing, 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 nothing.
Yeah.
And I was not okay with going back to teaching or getting another job until I felt, I guess, comfortable where she was able to do some stuff for herself.
It was okay. Right.
You know what I mean? Because it was like
Well,
2 to 3 years before it was me and my mom, me and my mom.
they're just going back and forth.
Back and forth, nurses coming to the house to check up on her. That was almost every day. So
Yeah.
it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a
Yeah.
lot. I can't even explain really, unless you've been through it yourself, you really don't know. And that's another thing too. Like I don't know, like I just turned 34. So I was like, I just turned 30 when I'm
You were still
watching her.
prime. Well, you're still
Whole, yeah,
you're like,
no relationship, like everything was really put on hold. All right, I'm gonna do this for the family. I'm gonna do this for you.
right,
You
right.
know.
Yeah. How do you think that, I mean, like you said, it's hard for people to understand unless they've been in it.
Hmm.
Do you think there's any way, like if there's something now, like okay, you've been there already a couple years, you're doing it part-time now. Now looking back, do you think there's anything that you, through your experience, could tell people like this is what it is and how to explain it to them? Because I think you're right. It's difficult to understand unless you're going through it. So I don't know if you have a bit of advice or a little tip or just something to give them an insight on it.
If this is something that you feel that you have to do, before you say, okay, I'm gonna do it, really make sure you're mentally prepared to do it.
Right.
Because I feel like if you're not mentally prepared of taking care of an older person, that yeah, they may be your family or not, they could be a friend.
Right.
Um, it's going to be very difficult
Yeah.
because I feel like though I was being selfless at that time and helping my family and making sure that my grandmother was being taken care of, I wasn't mentally ready for what was coming.
Right.
I was like, oh,
Right.
I'm gonna be home at grandma. Okay, okay, whatever.
Because you
And
did,
then like realizing like, wait a minute,
yeah, this is
I gotta
tough.
take her here. I gotta take her here. I gotta take her, and then
Right.
clean up after her. I think for me that was the hardest part. Was like lifting her up, cleaning
Hmm.
up after her. Like that for me was like, whoa, I
Yeah.
wasn't prepared for
Right.
that.
I
you
mean,
know,
how do you prepare? You can't really prepare for that, can you? I mean, I don't think you can.
I don't
It's
think you
one of
can.
those things you just have to, like you said, if you're committed to doing it, you just do it.
You just do it. You just do it. And honestly, like I'm not like a religious person or anything, but I am more spiritual. So like for me, I was like, okay, God, like there's a you're gonna bless me one day. Let me just suck it up and let me just do this.
Right.
I'm doing this in faith for you. I'm doing this for the betterment of my family, making sure that she's well. So it got to a point where it's like, okay, it's not about me.
Right. It's about her.
It's about her.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, she's lived
Making
her life. Though I'm trying to live mine, I gotta make sure that she's okay.
right.
You
Do you
know,
do you think that but at the age and the time that this happened that it affected your life goals and what you wanted to do? How did you how did you go through that and how did you handle it and It,
100%. Nobody has ever asked me that question before, but it
mhm,
definitely has. Because again, like I just turned 30 and I
right,
was in a time in my life where a lot of my friends married, great jobs, homeowners, not to compare, but as
but
human,
you felt you they were doing things and they were providing.
yeah,
We're here just kind of caring.
home,
Right.
and mind you, my parents are working,
Yeah.
and I'm here helping. And thank God for them because they helped me too, because knowing that
Right.
was helping them. But like I know there are people that they're not that lucky, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
But for me, that was hard. I mean, I remember, to be transparent with you, like I was a moment where I was in a deep depression
Right.
because I was like, what did I get myself into?
Yeah.
I had so many plans for myself. Like I wanted to travel. Like when I left my previous job, I had my savings. I wanted to do things with my photography, but then like this came in, and the
Right.
last thing that I ever wanted to do was just abandon my mom. Really,
Of course. Of course.
I'm like, no, I can't do that. Like, I'm gonna have a guilty conscience for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So I really had to like set my personal feelings aside and say, you know what, this is something that I gotta do. But I had to go to counseling because it was hard for me. Even when I would go take my grandmother to the appointments, like for her speech,
Mm-hmm.
for physical therapy, doctors will come to me and say, you need to take care of yourself too.
Yeah. I was gonna ask you how you got out of that because that you if you're not okay, you can't take care of her properly.
You
So,
can't take care.
what did you do for yourself to get out of that? Because that's a very important point that you brought up about yourself because you have to be 100%, you
A
know?
hundred percent.
How did you overcome that?
Well, I remember bringing it up to my mom. I was like, Mom, I don't think I could do this anymore. And her
Mhm.
face kind of like was like, and she was like, why? And I was like, Mom, I'm like really depressed. I'm really like, and I'm not a depressed person. I'm not
Right,
somebody that goes into dark spaces, but I was really down. I was really down. And she suggested, she goes, maybe you should talk to somebody other than me and your dad.
right,
So I decided to do that. And that helped because having that third person helped me handle my grandmother.
right, right,
It helped me to put aside my emotions and say, okay, this is what it is. Like I had to really start thinking of a more realistic approach instead of being like pessimistic or just see it for what it is,
right,
you
right,
know? And thank God for her because I feel like if it wasn't me talking to a therapist or somebody else,
right.
I think I would be a mess right now. But it
Yeah.
really helped me not only talk out loud of my feelings, but to also have some type of compassion towards the whole situation. And that's what
Mhm.
I was lacking
Right,
because
right.
I was just doing it just to do it, but there was
Yeah.
no compassion behind it.
You just felt more from what it sounds like it sounds like it was more out of you felt loyal to your mom and you felt like you just had to do it out of obligation rather
Exactly.
than out of your own wanting to, which is
Exactly.
okay. I think that happens to a lot of people,
100%.
and it's
100%.
okay that it happens that way. But I think it's great that you were self-aware enough to say, okay, I'm not okay with this. I'm having a difficult time and I need some help. And you found it.
I did. I had to. I had to. That's one thing that I can say that helped. That's one thing about. Now looking back, I'm like, God has a funny way, because like when you become a teacher and you learn how different aspects, one of the major things they always tell you is when you see yourself doing it for other reasons other than yourself, that's
Hmm.
when you have to take a step back. And
Right.
that kind of clicked for me while watching my grandmother because it felt like a chore. It didn't feel like I was doing it because I love, like, it was just like I'm doing this because I have to,
Right.
you
Right.
know? I wasn't doing it because I had a compassion towards it.
Right.
My therapist said, no, you have to learn that. And just see, because again, like me and my grandmother weren't close. My grandmother and my mother didn't have a good relationship either.
Okay.
So the dynamic was very like oil and water,
Yeah.
you
Yeah. It's
know
hard
and
to maneuver.
culturally too, like my family's from the Caribbean, so like you, in a way, like you said, you're obligated, you have this loyalty
Yeah.
to make sure that your parents are okay, but then also the
Yeah.
people
The
before
grand.
them too, that they're
Right.
okay too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
me doing that was like I'm obligated as the oldest child. I'm obligated to do this
To step
because
up. Felt like you needed to step up. Right,
basically,
right.
basically.
And so
But then having that rewiring of no,
you don't need to.
you don't need to,
Right, right,
and really start breaking things down. It helped me so much. And it got to a point where like I would do it now. I'm like, okay, grandma, what do you want? Like now I would play like before I didn't do much with her. And then it came to the point like I have to change my attitude. I have to change now, just making the best of this time.
right,
Forget what happened in the past between her, my mom, between her and I. Let's focus on the now. And that
right.
was my mentality. So if I wake up one day with her, I'll get her ready. Okay, grandma, what do you want to do today? We'll go out for a walk, or we play dominoes, or we do because she had to do a lot of like hand therapy stuff. We
Okay.
play Connect Four for hours.
Yeah.
You know, like just
You're
to make light
sensitive.
of the situation. And I will say too, my photography changed
Okay.
during
I
that. So I started
connect
documenting.
her. I remember one time you did a few pictures of her. I think you were in the hospital stay, unfortunately, and you did some really artistic pictures out
I
there.
did. I
Yeah,
did.
remember those.
I did. I kept a journal. It's so funny. I kept a journal from the minute she came till now. I
Right.
just took photos of her in different areas, and I said, you know, I gotta just make the best of it. I can't be in my mind all the time, and
Yeah.
you know, I have to make the best of what this is a bigger less. This is bigger than me,
Right.
than
Right.
her, even. You know.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was really awesome that you were able to do that, to do kind of like a 180 on it, and to come out with it sounds like a lot more positive light than where you were when you first started.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
just took
And that's
time
another thing
to
too. Like
get
when I
there.
was to, sorry.
That it took you, some time to get there and to be okay with everything and just kind of adjust, I guess.
That's a good word. Adjust.
Right.
And it also taught me patience because I thought I was a patient person. No,
You're you're not.
that taught me like, okay, I really need to relax. I have
Right.
to, calm, not calm down, but just really relax and just understand that things happen and it's time.
Hmm.
And that's one thing when you ask me if I could advise anybody, it would be find a support group, even if it's a group of friends, even I learned through the hospital too. They had like little support groups for people, for families who have strokes, or you know. So I would do that with my mom because it's hard. It's not easy.
Yeah. 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 Where are you supposed to find people who share the same experiences, if not through something like a support group or something? And my grandmother had a stroke also, so but she lived far away, right? So
Hmm.
there's only so much I can even relate to, right? So imagine someone that hasn't gone through it. It's difficult to explain, and I think that's kind of the importance of just talking a lot about things in general, strokes, cancer, caregiving, all of these things, like they have to be talked about because it's such sensitive and it's difficult for someone like you to go through this on your own.
It is so hard. It is. It is. It really is. Like I can say I had a select few of my girlfriends that will pop in, drop. I haven't seen you in so long. You okay? Well, thank God for them because I feel like if it wasn't for them, I mean, again, you have to have that your little
That's
tribe. You have to have your support system there
right.
beside your family because your family is living it with you. If you're with
Exactly.
your mom or your dad or whatever,
You guys are all going through the same thing.
we all going through the same thing.
Right.
Like you want to look at my dad, like my dad supporting my mom the way he was and
Yeah.
helping her, helping. It was just like, man, that's amazing because a lot of people won't do that, you
Right.
know.
Yeah.
But to actually have that support there, I think that helps tremendously because without that support, it's going to be hard. It's not an
Right.
easy, it's not
Of
an
course.
easy task.
Of course. So now you're doing it part-time. So what changed that you went from, because I know you're moving recently, right? So,
I'm still moving in.
okay,
Now
yeah.
I'm kind of in the house, but I'm not settled yet. Yeah, I'm just moved in with my boyfriend, so it's been a slow process. But yeah, I finally got my stuff moved in.
So your grandmother's with your mom more now, and you were saying you're just part-time now?
Yeah, I'm just part time now. What made me go to part time was because I needed money.
Yeah. I mean, that's one thing I hear a lot about caregivers. How you, if you're caring for her all day, how you gonna make money? Yeah,
I
I
needed
understand.
money, and you do get paid, but you don't get paid a lot of money.
Right, right.
Especially if you're caregiving somebody who never worked. Like my grandmother, she never worked a day in her life.
Okay,
Old school.
right.
So the money that I got paid, it wasn't a lot. I had to do other jobs, and luckily, um, I had connections. So I was a nanny for a while to get side income. So I was
Oh,
doing that on top of caring for my grandmother. I
wow.
did respite care for autism, which is basically I did home visits,
Right.
with families. I did that part time. But really, I had to sit my parents down and tell them. I said, look, I've been doing this, guys, now for 4 years.
Right.
Grandma, at that time, she was already, I don't want to say fully independent, but she was able to wash herself now. She was able to wash, like she could do things now on her own.
Okay,
So
okay.
I said, for the most part, she can take care of herself. She could get up, she could brush her teeth, she could comb her hair.
Right,
I
right.
don't have to be here all the time.
Got it, got it.
And they were kind of relieved. They were like, okay, yeah, go do do what you got
Yeah.
to do.
No, but
I
that's
told them, I said, I need to move out. I need to do my life.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
they were fully supportive of that. So I told them, I said, I could do part time. So, like, that way they can have their weekends. Since
Right.
So, what I do is I do like maybe a Saturday or Sunday every other weekend and I stay with her. But for
Okay.
the most part, that's what motivated me to say, okay, I'm done. Because once I started seeing her be more self-sufficient, um, I was like, okay, I don't have to be here for
All
the
the time.
18 hours with her that I used to be.
Right, right. Felicia, I mean, what I'm learning from you a lot is a lot of self-awareness. I think that's great that you have that, because to be able to step up and say, this is affecting me right now. I can't be 100%, or, I think grandma's doing good now. I can move on a little bit. Let's work something out. I think it's great that you're able to do that, because for yourself as well, you need to be okay, because maybe one day you need to step back into full time, and at least you've had some sort of, I don't want to say a break, but a little bit of
I
moving
call
on,
it a breather.
a little bit of a life, and then to come back to be, and you're going to be 100% again, you'll be back and ready to take on the challenge that it is.
100%. And I was talking. It's so funny. Me and my boyfriend, we were talking. We were just having a random conversation, and how he was talking about how his dad is not doing well. And he's like,
Hmm.
man, I don't want him to get, too sick. And I said to him, I said, sometimes life is crazy. I
Hmm.
said, but the same way how our parents took care of us is going to come a time in our life where we have to take care of them.
Right.
And he goes, yeah, the same way how you took care of your grandma. And I said, yeah. And look at my mom. She's not 100%. And I'm pretty sure it's going to come a time where I'm going to
Yeah.
have to go back to that headspace
Right.
and care
Right.
for them too. But it's a
Yeah.
circle of life. It's when I was younger, didn't have that awareness, but now it's just like, now I have a different mentality towards it. So it's sad to say, but when that time does come, I feel that
Mhm.
I will be more prepared or more aware of what's to come because of my experience with my grandma.
Right. Right. That's great. And really quick, one last question I have for you.
Sure.
So if you're talking to someone who's just now starting their caregiving journey, where you were in the beginning, what's one piece of advice that you would give them to try to help them along their journey?
Oh man, if they're starting caregiving right now,
Yeah.
stay strong. Stay
Okay.
strong and communicate.
Okay.
Communicate, communicate. I can't emphasize that. The last thing you want to do is build in your frustrations because working with the elderly is not, they are stuck in their ways.
Yeah. Yeah. A
You
lot of
can't
us.
tell them nothing. You can't tell them nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You really can't. You can't tell them, no, you can't eat that. No. Like they will fight you. They
Right.
will, and it's not just my grandmother. Like I had my grandfather who was sick. He was the same way, but I wasn't there, caring for him, but I saw how he was with my other grandma and how he was with my dad, and I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
So when they're stuck in their ways, don't let yourself get upset. Don't let yourself become frustrated. If you have to take a breather, few
Yeah.
minutes outside, do that. Because there's
Okay.
going to be moments where you're like, oh my God, what did I get myself into?
Yeah, yeah. What am I doing?
What am
Frustration.
I doing? Because that's how I was in the beginning. The first year was really hard because I was
Okay.
like, why? How did
Yeah.
I even, why did I say I would do this?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
But I think just staying strong and
And
just communicate with your family or your friends, whoever's close to you, and let that out. Don't bottle those feelings in.
right.
And I feel like the more you do that, you'll come to that space in a more clear-headed way and handle your loved one the way they deserve to be handled.
Right.
That's
Well, I
that would be my main advice, is just to be strong and to always be open how you feel caring
yeah,
for your loved one.
I think that's great advice. Great advice. So thank you very much, Felicia. I
Oh,
really
100%
appreciate you
anything.
taking the time to talk to me.
Anything you want.
Thank you.
I'm
All
so
right.
happy for you and your app. I wish I had this app.
Well, we're trying. We're trying to, to bring it to people and see if we can help,
I
get
think
it.
it's I think I told my mom about it and she was like, man, that is awesome. I said, it is awesome. Just the thought of somebody thinking that
Right, right. Well,
open to,
I think it's what you say. You have to go through it to realize what's kind of missing, where you feel you can get help, and that was just kind of something that I thought, okay, well, this is what, I feel we're missing, and so yeah, that's just kind of where it came from, so I just hope that with that it can help, other people.
and
Even
that's
if it,
something too, just really quick.
yeah.
When I was watching my grandmother, again, it was like me and my mom would tag team me, but there were moments where I wish both of us had like a moment. Because
Hmm.
there were days where I needed time, like it was to take pictures or whatever. I just needed a day or two.
Right.
And there were times where my mom needed a day or two. But
Yeah.
because we were always back and forth, it's like we really never had a
You need
break
a break to get that for
to
right.
get that.
Yeah.
So knowing that this is happening, I think it's awesome. I
Yeah.
really do.
Thank you.
I really do. I wish you all the best and success with it because
Thank you. Thank you.
I don't think people understand how many caregivers there are, how young we are, because there's a
Hmm.
lot of young,
There are. There really are. Yeah.
and older ones too, but there's a lot of young. When I went to the support group at the hospital, I was like, oh my God, a
They're
lot of
like,
us in our 30s,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
daughters, sons, taking care of their moms. Like, I was like really shocked of the age
The
of the
difference.
caregivers. There were a lot of young folk there.
Yeah. No, and I agree with you on that. And I think at least we're kind of in a time with social media, with so much information out there, that hopefully everyone can get what they need and, have a support offline. I mean, online as well as in person, There's
Hmm.
different avenues for support. And like I said earlier, talking, right? Communication in general, talking
Yeah.
about it, our experiences, talking about everything and just kind of getting it out there to not feel alone. Like you said, you went to the support group and you're like, wow, I'm not the only one. You
Hmm.
So yeah, it's definitely good to talk about it and be out
100%.
there. Well, I appreciate it, Felicia. I really do.
Of
You know,
course.
it's your last day of winter break here, so I hope you
Yes.
enjoy and good
Yep.
luck with the move.
Thank you so much.
All right, we'll talk soon.
Yes.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Hi, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. All the tags for Felicia will be down below, her Instagram, her YouTube, so you can follow along with her journey as well. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to our channel and like this video. I really appreciate your support. Thank you.